Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. Your Excellency, Mr. Deputy President, Professor Kindiki, Your Excellency, Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, the Chair of Council of Governors, dear CS and PS present, fellow ambassadors, dear colleagues, and also dear Stephen. In fact, I didn't realize that this might be your last Development Partners Forum. Time is running very fast. I just want to thank you not only for this work here, but for the excellent cooperation that we enjoyed the last, for me, 3.5 years. And I would like to invite all of you to give him a big, big hand already at this early stage. Good morning and also Happy New Year to all of you. I hope you all had a small rest over Christmas and over the New Year so that we all can start into this new season with energy and optimism. I want to thank, first of all, the Deputy President and his office, as well as National Treasury, for convening this 14th Development Partners Forum. In doing so, I think we keep the momentum from our successful meetings in 2025 and also chart the way into the new year. As Stephen mentioned, and is, I think, clear to all of us, the challenges ahead of us as development partners, as Kenya, are enormous. And I just would like to mention 3 examples, and Stephen talked about it in his introductory remarks. First, the extreme weather events are on the rise, not as natural catastrophes, but as man-made catastrophes. Kenya needs more resilience to droughts and floods, and Kenya, as well as its neighbors in the Horn of Africa, also need our solidarities in the weeks and months ahead, but also jointly, I think we have to work on structural strategies to face these challenges. Secondly, around 1 million graduates enter the labor market every year in Kenya, which is a blessing. But that also means Kenya needs growth, Kenya needs decent jobs and a thriving economy that brings material benefits also to the people. And last but not least, the electricity infrastructure in Kenya is, as we know, at its limits. Kenya needs several gigawatts of additional electricity supply over the next years to meet growing demand and avoid power cuts or load shedding. Though this is just 3 examples, I think, of very concrete challenges that we are facing together. And we are all doing this, and I think this is also clear to all of us, in the context of shrinking donor funding and not growing donor funding. Not only have many donor countries made painful cuts, including Germany, I have to admit, to their development cooperation and humanitarian, but many of them also have reduced their contributions to international organizations or concentrated them on specific issues and selected countries. And we all know what an important role, especially the international organizations of the UN family, play here in Kenya. At the same time, in many of our countries, solidarity with people in distant countries is receding, and a me-first mentality has taken hold. And there are also demands for greater accountability on how taxpayers' money is being spent. Somehow, this might also sound a bit provocative, the old world of development cooperation is gone, and it's up to us to construct the new setup, bearing in mind that a return to the good old days isn't very likely. This brings us to the point where we need to ensure that we use the funds at our disposal as efficiently as possible and put them to maximum use for the people. I am therefore encouraged that since the last DPF, the discussions about absorption capacity has gained a lot of momentum. And that in addition to the ODP and the NT, we also have the Attorney General on board to quickly implement the necessary legal and procedural changes. At the same time, we must coordinate our activities even better in order to avoid concentration of funding on one area or underfunding another. And our Kenyan partners are rightly demanding that we align ourselves with your priorities: better economic growth, bringing benefit to the people, and also that we create more transparency about our activities in the country. That's the discussion about on-budget and off-budget mainly. I therefore commend the momentum that has been generated since the last DPF in the discussion about the new setup of our coordination structures. We will hear shortly from the chairs of the Head of Cooperation Group and the ODP about where we currently stand. But I would like to say this much in advance: there is progress, and we identified what we called green areas of cooperation, where we agree that changes are needed in terms of better implementation of our funds. And we are close to new terms also of reference for the joint sector working groups, which will of course need to be filled with life in the near future. Honorable Deputy President, ladies and gentlemen, Prime Cabinet Secretary, ambassadors and friends, greater efficiency and effectiveness, better coordination, and also showcasing how we are actually using the funding, for example, through more transparency toward taxpayers in our home countries, but also towards Kenyans, I believe is in all of our best interests. But we also have to rethink even further. Together, we must make Kenya and all the countries in the Horn of Africa more resilient. We must work together even harder on structural solutions, not only in the field of droughts and flooding and unnatural catastrophes, but I think bearing in mind which important role agriculture also plays in this country, we have to adapt it. We have to adapt agriculture, the food system, to these changing weather patterns. We have to promote climate action and financing plans also at district and county level, and enabling Kenyans to access innovative instruments such as climate risk insurances. And at least, that is the German and the European point of view, we must not slow down our joint and multilateral commitment to mitigate climate change. Without a reduction in CO2 emissions in the next years, things will get worse. And Kenya is a very, very strong and important voice in international climate negotiations and has made a strong case for the opportunities arising from a decarbonized economy. Which brings me to my final point. Kenya has enormous potential, both in terms of its natural resources and its people. Kenya is the Silicon Savannah, is a champion of renewable energies, at least a European, if not a world champion of roses. 90% of all roses in Europe come from Kenya. And Kenya is also the powerhouse and logistics hub of East Africa. And rarely you meet people so well educated, so entrepreneurial, and so energetic as in this country. In his recent State of the Nation address, President Ruto rightly named the Asian tigers as an ideal and issued the slogan, "From aid recipients to exporters of world-class goods." He said that he wanted to focus more on the convening power of the private sector and presented ideas for implementing the necessary infrastructure investments more closely with private sector players. And exactly the same discussions are currently taking place in Germany, in the European Union, and in a number of donor countries. We are looking into options how to contribute even more to creating jobs, to encourage our companies to invest in Kenya, in Africa, and by doing so, triggering economic growth and giving new opportunities to especially the younger generation. Ladies and gentlemen, the DPF is the main forum that provides a collaborative platform for the government of Kenya, all the development partners and other key stakeholders. It's also the best tool at our disposal to construct and consolidate the new appropriate framework of development cooperation here in Kenya and beyond. In order to further improve our cooperation and the joint outcome, we want to further improve, first and foremost, the absorption of our funds and our forms of cooperation. And Marie from SIDA and Anne from World Bank, in their capacity as chairs of the Head of Cooperation Group, will later explain what this might look like in concrete terms. But first, let me hand over to the next speaker, to the moderator, and thank you all very much, and wishing you a very constructive deliberation this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sebastian. At this junction, let me welcome the